Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're checking out the Benetton B186, a very creatively named Formula One car from 1986. You see what they did there? And it's, more importantly, the BMW M12 engine, the most powerful rated engine in Formula One history. 1,400 horsepower it could produce in qualifying trim. That's what they claimed. You see, back in the 80s, the dyno couldn't measure above 1,000, so they kind of estimated it with theoretical calculations. The theory was 0.01 bar of boost in the turbo gave you approximately 20 horsepower. Seems like the most powerful, and it was, but it wasn't like fantastically more powerful than it's not like everyone else had like these 20 horsepower cars. No, everyone had 1,000 horsepower monsters. And yeah, it was just, this one was the most powerful out of those. With no parc fermé rules like there are today, the teams would put out almost two totally different cars for qualifying in the race. So qualifying, they turn it up as much as they could. So that's why you might not recognize this engine. You may be more familiar with it looking like this. Yes, that's a turbo on fire. Or maybe that's a big cloud of smoke. Yeah, that's usually what happened to the engines on about lap 3. Or the Brabham, like this. Marshalls in the 80s weren't great either, as Clive James has a joke about that.
The fire truck got there on the same day, but only just. It's at long moments like this that drivers miss those wonderful English marshals who collect old copies of motorsport, pester them for autographs, but are there when you need them, instead of after the ashes have grown cool.
Gordon Murray's new low-profile design Brabham wasn't very successful. They tilted the BMW engine 72 degrees to get it to fit into the car. It's a very low-slung car there. And here we have Riccardo Patrese. He's pulling into the pits and he's trying to explain here what's wrong with the car. And basically from his hand signals there we can see he's basically saying, look, the engine's very good, very powerful, it goes really fast, but it can't go around corners or take elevation changes in the track. Derek Horrick was brought in to replace Elio De Angelis, who was sadly killed at a testing accident in Paul Ricard, and this is what he had to say about it.
Driving endurance, you know, the cars are much heavier, much slower under braking, so it's completely different. And then this afternoon in qualifying, I mean, it was just, with the power of the BMW, it was just amazing, fantastic.
So Arrows were also using the engine, but they didn't have much success. So it was left to Benetton and Gerhard Berger, the young Austrian. Here in Austria, young Gerhard, he took his first pole position of his career here in Austria. He had nearly got a pole position earlier in the year, but he got one here. That pole was taken away from him actually by Nelson Piquet. But here in Austria, he got pole position, and his teammate Teo Fabi was behind him throughout the early laps of the race, and the Benettons were having a good dice up at the front. The rest of them were lagging further behind, and the rest of them being like, you can see there, Prost, Piquet, Mansell. On lap 2, Riccardo Patrese's Brabham decided it had enough, while the Benettons were still out there fighting. The Brabham, with that engine tilted like that, was suffering from cooling problems. Teo Fabi was putting the pressure on Gerhard early in the race, but spending a lot of time behind his teammate was giving him some cooling issues. Eventually, he turned up the boost, pulled out from the slipstream and went by, but look at this, straight away his car would suddenly lose power, and unfortunately for Teo and Benetton and BMW, that was the end of him and the end of what could have been a 1-2 finish. But Gerhard, he was still out there leading as Teo, he retired, but then Gerhard had to pull into the pits and they discovered a flat battery. He stayed in the pits to change it. That cost him 2 laps, and his first victory went to Bigging. He would eventually win the Mexican Grand Prix in 1986, his first, and also the BMW's last for that time. for that era of turbocharged cars. So there's a lot of stories about this engine, like BMW engineers seasoning the block by, urinating on it. So, yeah, but that's nonsense. And also there's a lot of people that like to say, oh, this engine was so powerful and so awesome that it was banned. No, it wasn't banned. In fact, it went on to race in 87 and 88 under the Megatron badge, just rebadged as a Megatron engine. But rules in Formula One changed. There were fuel limits, there were pop-off valves and things like that that limited boost. But that wasn't done because of this engine. I mean, it only won one race. It was to slow down everybody, especially the Williams cars. Those are the ones going extremely fast and winning constructors' championships with a Honda engine. So, yeah, to phrase it as like the engine was banned, that's nonsense. It wasn't. The rules changed and the engine became less effective, as did everybody's. Just Honda engineers were better at getting more out of the engine than the rest, especially in 87 and 88. But nevertheless, the Benetton B186 was a cool car with a very, very powerful engine. And it was a Tolman the year before Benetton bought them out. Peter Collins, he stayed on as the team manager. And Rory Byrne was the designer. Rory Byrne, who would go on to win quite a lot of world championships with Michael Schumacher. So we can listen to the car starting up here.
Ready?
And how about a lap of the old Adelaide circuit with Gerhard Berger and Murray Walker?
Well, you now watch Gerhard Berger, the Austrian, in the tremendously powerful 1,350 horsepower in qualifying trim BMW-powered Benetton. That is the man who won the Mexican Grand Prix. Now, let's go around the lap with him. He goes from here, the start and finish point, into the S's in second gear. Then he goes round what I call Gumtree Bend for obvious reasons, down to Wakefield Turn, second gear at about 110 k's. Now into East Terrace Bend, second gear still, 110 k's, and Berger really looks as though he's pressing on. He, unlike all the other drivers I've mentioned, is using Pirelli tyres and may well be going for a fast time right from the beginning. Flinders Bend, the right-hander. Now he comes up towards Market's Turn, which is a second gear, 110 miles an hour, 110 k's an hour turn, up to Stag Turn by the famous pub of that name. Now down towards Brewery Bend. He's doing about 150 kilometers an hour. Swings round, well, he's speeding up, but he is not on a qualification lap at the present moment. Now Berger's going for it. Watch him. The target time for pole position at the present moment is that of Nigel Mansell, 1 minute 19.255 seconds.
Yeah, Berger is definitely on a quick one now. He's already improved his time dramatically, taking himself up into 5th place with a 1:20.5. Qualifying form, the BMW engine he's got behind him is probably the most powerful. See a little bit of fluid just spilling out of the breather there. Hard on the brakes at the last hairpin and then on to full power down the pit straight. And that was just a little bit slower than his first lap this afternoon.
And Murray Walker and James Hunt there. Gotta love that pair. Murray Walker, well, there's a Gumtree there. I'll just name this corner Gumtree Bend. You just make up names for the corners, not this modern day turn 1, turn 2, turn 12 nonsense that we put up with. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that look at the 1986 Benetton with its most powerful in-power BMW engine. Until the next time, have a good time all the time. Cheers.